Hello, my name is Chris Winstanley and I've been a member of St Peter's Church for a long time. I want to share with you today a couple of verses from Psalm 13 that have meant a lot to me over my life as a Christian, but especially over the last few months. And they are verses 5 and 6. But I trust in your unfailing love. My heart rejoices in your salvation. I will sing the Lord's praise because he has been good to me. And I want to start my story by going back to September last year when I had a traumatic time, but also an amazing time. One Saturday night, Elian and I were up in the loft. We'd had a flood and we were just trying to sort something out. And I was balancing on a beam, which is not a good thing to do. And the next thing I knew, I'd fallen through the ceiling. And it was a spectacular fall. I fell 11 foot down onto the half landing and then rolled down the remainder of the stairs and landed in the hall. After I'd kind of cried out, I prayed like mad and stood up. Gingerly, but I stood up. Meanwhile, Elian was coming down from the loft to see what happened and couldn't believe it when he saw me standing up. It was amazing. And the first thought that came to my mind before I stood up was pray. And I just prayed that God would make it right. And I was very fortunate in that I suffered a grazed knee and a bruised backside. And I was shocked, but other than that, I was fine. It was amazing. And the next day I went to church, and in the evening service we were singing that song, The Goodness of God. And I just want to pick up on a couple of lines in that song. They are, all my days I've been held in your hands. All my life you have been faithful. All my life you have been so, so good. With every breath that I am able, I will sing of the goodness of God. I was incredibly moved at that point. Couldn't sing it because choking up with tears, and just so thankful that God had saved me from, well, it could have been awful. And that song has been very special to me ever since, and every time I sing it, I am just so thankful for the goodness of God. He's been faithful and he's so, so good. A couple of months later, we had the privilege of going to the Holy Land, and we were in the Garden of Gethsemane, and we'd had a talk by Jeff Lucas, and we were just contemplating, and we were allowed just to wander around. And Elian and I went to sit under a tree, and again, God spoke to me in a very, very real way. I just was pondering about what Jesus had done for us, how he'd suffered in that garden and then subsequently on the cross. And I was just so moved again by the goodness of God that he allowed his son Jesus to die for us. And so overwhelmed by the love of God for me in my life. And then during the lockdown time, things have been okay. You just get on with it, don't you? But just recently I've had a pulled muscle. Stupidly, did it in the garden, not looking what I was doing properly. But it's been agony, absolute agony. And again, I've trusted God, prayed for healing, but it's been awful. It's stopped me doing what I want to do. I'm so frustrated. And I just feel that I have to rest, which I don't like doing. But I have to keep remembering we don't always get our prayers answered in the way that we think we might like to. And so this time has been a real testing time for me. I've also been doing the prayer course, and last week we were discussing about unanswered prayer. And it is hard. Our prayers don't always get answered in the way we want. I'm still struggling. I did it again. I made it worse again this week because I tried to do too much too soon, and I've been in pain again. And I know I've just got to trust God, know that he loves me. But even in these times when it's not easy, we get frustrated, prayer doesn't get answered in the way we want it to, I just know that I can look back and see those 2 times in my life where God spoke to me and just assured me of his goodness as a father by sending his son Jesus so that we can have life with him. So whatever you're going through, however tough it is, just keep hanging in there and remember the goodness of God. All our lives, he is faithful. He's been so, so good. And let's dwell on the goodness of God.